you don't believe what's on paper, but then again, you do a lot for paper. Some of you might call it bread. Some of you might call it cake. Some of you might call it something else, but it's a type of currency or financial tool or asset that puts money in your pocket so that you can enjoy life, like an asset, right? An asset puts money in your pocket. That's an accounting phrase, not an intelligence fucking phrase. When they call someone an asset, is because they're collecting information, and what's more important than, well, information is the most valuable form of currency. Hell, people that inside trade make earth-shattering amounts of money. Yes or yes, right? But they don't believe what's written on paper, like the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and all these other things. And that's the purpose of this video. So welcome back to another video in Finding Freedom. Let's get into the first point here, right? What is written or printed on paper? Well, you have the Constitution, right? You have the Bill of Rights. You have other things, right? You also have things that are printed on paper. You have dollar bills, right? You have British pounds or sterling, euros, if you're from Germany or Europe or something like that, right? You have gold. That's an asset that can be converted into digital or paper currency, right? You have other things that are printed or created. Yes or yes, right? Just say yes because I know I'm correct, right? And then you also have a direct reflection of other things that play out in the world that people will utilize to put money in their pocket, preach about it, teach about it, etc. Say, don't break these laws or rules, but then do it themselves. So we live in a do as I say, not as I do society where they're able to show exactly how much they're able to skirt or break everything in general. And it's okay for them to do it, but not okay for others, even if the wording is on paper that they're supposed to defend, like the justice system, the legislative system, the United States Code, right? USC, whether that's 47, because you can feel it, somebody's on your phone tapping into it, and they're having a menage a trois because so many sources are tapped in. That's 47 telecommunications, United States Code, jurisdiction. Yes or yes, right? Sorry, not jurisdiction, legislation, right? Or legislation, right? Meaning words that are documented, that are defended and backed by the DOJ, Homeland Security, or whatever, unless they enacted certain things based upon a false flag or something else, so they can go around and avoid all those things because they lied to you about an individual so that they could get away with breaking the code, right? So think about it, right? Because during COVID, people would smile in your face, but then go rat you out and say you didn't take the COVID shot, and they get paid $100 to $200 per person that they snitched on. Google it if you don't believe me, right? Point number 2, do you believe in the Declaration of Independence? What about the Constitution, which I mentioned? How about the Bible or money? See, there's a cross-reference between the Bible and a dollar bill, right? It says, in God we trust, right? But what God? Which God, right? Is it the one in the Quran? Is it the one in the Bible? Is it the one in, other things? What is it, right? Who is it, right? But if I show you a dollar bill and you get stuck on stupid because you're fixated on the pyramid, or you're fixated on the words, or you're fixated on something else, I already know where your mindset and psychology is, right? So I just have to go ahead and understand the individual that got caught up on something, right? Because don't believe what's printed on paper, like the laws, Constitution, everything else that reflects the Bible. If you don't know that, by all means, look at the Bill of Rights, the first 10, and look at the 10 commandments and see how there is a, similarity. Some of you might know it as a synonym, etc., right? Or an analogy or metaphor that relates directly to it, right? Think about it, all right? A lot of the laws, even in science or in the courtroom, it's written in Latin, but it was translated from the Greek, right? You believe in your zodiac signs and astrology. If you're in a courtroom, Lady Justice also, has a direct reflection and link to Virgo in the zodiac sign, walking with blind faith, as they would say, right? Hence the blindfold on the logo, swinging a sword, scales of balance, etc. To be neutral, which is why you wear neutral colors in court, like what's on the street, black and white, either like a priest or a jurist, or judge? Let's go to the next point, right? So then you are self-serving and not wanting to work together unless it concerns you as a whole or keeps you out of trouble or causes harm to others, but you want peace. Okay. How are you going to cause peace by quickly taking out the people that are trying to bring peace? Why are you attacking certain individuals in a certain way, in a group fashion, whether it's no-touch harassment or not, right? And then bending and breaking every law, right? Why are some people looking the other way when I know the NSA freaking has access to everything? Hell, one day I gave a finger to the sky and I went to a white elephant party, and somebody that had way too much information was like, Michael knows all about this, and he did the same gesture. Like we were communicating in the movie fucking Top Gun, right? Gave the bird, etc. They wanted to what? Play this Count of Monte Cristo, send me to Shadow Deep. So I went to a white elephant party because in the Count of Monte Cristo, he was supposed to look for what? An elephant or a rock in the shape of an elephant, which if you saw the movie, there was a rock or a fixture or a mountainside that looked like an elephant if you were able to translate the language that was on the map. Interesting game certain people are playing, right? Let's move forward, right? Do you believe in words, oaths, selective service, or selective hearing, right? What about selective questioning or selecting what to follow, right? That would be free will, right? You get to exercise it, but yet you want to control every aspect. You want to hack the system or the individual, right? You want to use advanced technology, whatever you want to call it, direct energy technology, direct energy weapons. You want to go ahead and use other things, right? Psychology, deep fake videos, artificial intelligence, right? Thinking somebody wants to play chem games, but then they can't do a callback. You want to hide in the shadows, but be in plain sight at the same time. You want to talk crap and project, but you don't want to go ahead and get called out, right? It's do unto others, but don't have them do anything to you, right? Like the doctors. They can't figure out heart disease or cancer or anything else, but when COVID came, they magically figured out a cure within less than 2 years. They showed their hand, people. Did you show yours? Possibly. What took a bite out of the apple? I don't know. But they allowed it to happen, whoever they are, right? What about selective hearing? What was that? What did you say? But if I were to use taboo language or a tone or pitch, as I did earlier today, emphasizing my skills within SDK, right? Then if I'm able to trigger someone emotionally, then their true self will start to come out, because it's very hard to hide one's true self. Yes or yes? Psychologists out there. What about selective service? Does clearance matter, or you just abuse that and throw that around, right? Next point. Do you need to know which will put you and now include you in what you wanted to know because you wanted to be nosy? And then you wanted to broadcast that to everyone, right? You thought it was going to be a great plan, right? Was it your first assignment? Was it the first time you were in charge of a group of people? Was it the first time you were running something? And that's why you made so many goddamn mistakes over the last 5 to 6 years? Is that why you didn't know what aiding and abetting is when you were abusing power or knowledge or information? Now you're trying to back out of it without taking accountability, as one person would say. So then when the other person starts to record, you call them a bitch for recording, so that when they call you out and you want to catch selective amnesia and they have you on film, they have your voice, and it could be documented digitally, forensically, etc., that it is verbatim you and not some deep fake video or something else. What are you going to say then? What happens if a judge compels you to tell the truth in court? Are you going to catch an attitude and walk out, get emotional, put yourself in contempt of court or holding, right? Are you willing to go that far because you're prideful? Because you don't want to hold up your end. You want to violate all the other boundaries. You want to screw other people over and then say, it's in the past. Don't know why you're so upset with it. I understand you were peaceful. You could get back to it. Don't worry. Right? You were the one causing it, along with a couple others. Now you just want to what? Pretend like it never happened? Interesting. Tell that to the people who still talk about slavery. If you have slaves, that is, right? Talk about to the people that are being controlled. If they have controllers, that is. What about those that are being handled? If they have handlers, right? What's your handle these days on social media, dog? Now you have no choice, right? You made your choice when you showed yourself, when you showed your ass over the last 6 years, right? I literally had to record a doctor that was committing fraud and malpractice intentionally. And it wasn't until that I informed her that she was being recorded and documented that the facility at Charlotte VA Hospital decided to magically move her, or they could have fired her. But she got reassigned to a different facility. Why is that? Why is it that I had to almost record another doctor who had a thought to violate human rights and free will based upon a thought? And everybody in the facility said, oh, make sure you state and you know that it was Dr. So-and-so that said he thought you had to be IVC'd or whatever. There's only 2 reasons you do that, and none of those were a reason. Because he had a thought. Why? Because I had a recording that I was able to pull out in front of him. And he literally stated like it was scripted, like he was reading a sales script to somebody, i.e. someone in the hospital, right? And he got scared. FBI, if you're watching, do your fucking job. I don't know what you do anymore, right? They say, oh, we're going to talk to Michael because we don't need people that were former military doing law enforcement's job. Well, why don't you tell them to get off their fucking ass and speed up? It's been 6 years. How much more information do you need? Do you know that in a psychological operation, it takes about 20 years to mold a generation, right? You have your Gen Z, your Gen X, your millennials, blah, blah, blah. But every 20 years, you'll be able to see a shift, right? So if you were to go back to, let's say, 2001, there was a certain demographic group, psychographic, etc., up until the point of 9/11, right? Then when 9/11 happened, because there was a lot of things going on, right? They created more laws and rules. Sysbert-Oxley came out, right? If I remember how to enunciate that correctly. Those are tax and financial laws, etc. You accountants and CPAs out there, auditors, etc. in the financial field understand this. Those of you who are finance majors probably had to study this. Those of you who are JAG officers or anybody that's been around an executive attorney general or an attorney general probably understands tax laws, yes, since there's insider trading and a lot of other things going on. So 9/11 occurred, the Twin Towers went out. They also took out a part of the Pentagon that knocked out files. Now history is repeating almost a little bit more than 20 years later, right? We're in 2026. They're talking about files. There's chaos happening around the world. They're bragging about, well, let's see, we hit our quotas. Our recruiting quotas. I don't know about you, but if you ever played a video game like StarCraft, Civilizations, Warcraft, sorry, not World of Warcraft, etc., you know that you have to recruit people to be a part of your military to help you defend or get through the operation. So you recruit the Protoss, Zerg, have Zerglings, Hydralisks, etc., blah, blah, blah. Similar concept. Space Force, Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines. We hit our quotas. Now gas prices are going up. Let's put 2 and 2 together. How are gas prices going up if we're in a conflict with a country that we don't purchase any fossil fuels from? How is that affecting that? Unless they're building a war chest and they need an excuse. because quantitative easing doesn't work. Printing more money devalues the dollar. The OPEC deal was for 20 years that ended. Do you understand now how it takes 20 years to mold a generation psychologically to get them prepared for the next turn, right? The fourth coming, the fourth turn. I think that's a book, right? This is why every 20 years, because from pre-K through your school system, right, you graduate at 21, yes or yes, and then you go into the workforce, etc. From the moment you go to school, probably around age 5, 20 years from that, you are now 25. How has the psychology changed, and how has your psychology been molded within that 20-year period? Right? It's a slow play. It's a long con, if you want to look at it that way. It's a lot of pre-work or pre-show. If you're a magician, you understand what pre-show is before everything can come together, right? Before you can flick over the first domino and your plan now starts knocking all the other dominoes over, right? And then the new world gives birth to itself. Or you end up in another, not conflict, but an actual war, right? It's like turning up the temperature on boiling water. You need to hit 212 and higher in order for it to boil, unless you're at a different altitude. Because at different altitudes, water boils at a different temperature. If you're into science, you know that. If you're an astronaut, you understand this. If you're smarter than a fifth grader, you understand this. So you went through plan A, you recruited A-level people, you got somebody to talk about somebody that's from Germany where they have A-levels, say that this person's from Germany, not to knock on anybody, but it did happen. It was broadcasted in the news. I'm pretty sure you could YouTube that. There's Germany wants to take over United States' position within NATO, so NATO's going to kick out the United States, meaning we're going to be without any allies. People don't understand that America is North, Central, and South America. All of it is America. If you haven't seen Diary of a CEO with the professor that actually explains this, that has tenure, because you don't respect me or my word, you can watch Diary of a Diary. What is it? Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Recently came out with a professor that's readily available all over social media. He talks about how from Canada all the way down to Brazil is America. People laugh when I say, you ever heard of NCIS? No, right? People say, oh, I'm American. Okay, that's great. Are you from North America, Central America, or South America? Idiot. Now I know why Gibbs always smacked Donoso in the back of the head when he was either being fresh or saying something that he wasn't supposed to be saying, but Gibbs couldn't say, hey, don't say that. So he slapped him in the back of the head, shut up, etc., right? Because the best thing you could do sometimes is shut the fuck up if you don't know, but most people need to regurgitate things without doing research, right? I called a library. I wanted to get tangible books of medical books. They said everything is online now. But if people only know what you tell them and digital information can be manipulated and it changes, well, then how am I supposed to prove that unless I can cite multiple sources that cannot be changed, which would be like a hardcover book, something tangible, right? How would I be able to show the birth of advanced technology without having access or having schematics or having proof of it? Yes. Or if you want, I can build it myself, prove it in a courtroom, then have it confiscated for whatever reason, and then show everybody what's actually possible and capable. But you don't want that, right? See, you don't need to be smarter than a fifth grader to understand that everything you got taught, you pretty much learned back in elementary school, and then everything else was to help you get a job in the world, right? To be put into the system. And then people that don't want to get out of the system, or they want to do certain things because it makes them feel good, or they're attached to the almighty dollar, something that's printed on paper or digitally made, right? Stuck on numbers. Numbers is in the Bible, is it not? Proverbs teaches you about money. That's how you get profit, right? And there was a lot of prophets in the Bible that came with good fortune. Fortuna, right? Fortune. De oppresso libre, right? Oppresso de libre, which is Latin to free the oppressed, the Green Berets, right? Semper Fidelis, Marines, always faithful. Devil Dog, really? God lived backwards. Think about it, right? What were you guys doing if you're still listening? What were you guys paying attention to? What was the creative thought that was going to happen from everything? What do you think the result of everything was going to be? Right? If you don't see how the puzzle pieces are coming together and you did not see the last lesson in class or any of the other lessons in class, it would behoove you to pay attention to lessons 1 through 50 and then go into continuing education. Some of you need it. Those of you in the professional fields already know for a fact there's continuing education, CE, whether you're in the medical field or in the legal jurisdiction, right? You have to, because amendments keep getting put out, right? And if you need to correct a statement or something on a medical record, they can't just delete it. They can, but they choose not to. They would say, oh, we have to make an amendment. Unless you take them to court, then they can expunge it, which means to erase or get rid of it. Right? Not seal it, because sealed records can still be opened and unsealed, like mail, right? So you take an iron to the back of a letter, heat up the glue, you take a paper clip, you straighten it out, and you go underneath it, and it separates the paper, right? That's an easy way of doing that. But tampering with someone's mail is a federal crime. So they say. So is tapping someone's phone, etc., not knowing when to stop. How much proof and evidence or whatever do you need before you unfuck yourselves and do your fucking job, right? It's time to earn a paycheck. We're past the 20-year mark, right? It's time, right? What did I say in another video? You're in the military, they de-spell you. And they tell you to play dumb until it's time to not play dumb anymore. Just like the movie Roadhouse, right? Be nice until it's time to not be nice anymore. It's time to not be nice. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at what is playing out in the world. Look at what's playing out stateside. If they really wanted to take advantage, right, they could be killing them with kindness, nice to your face, planning something in the background. All they have to do is trigger something to get our military personnel out of this location into other locations. Then, because of the 20-year period, through their psychological operation, trigger something stateside or internally. So if they have a war or they get something to declare war or a larger conflict outside, they mitigate certain risks, right? You won't have military personnel here. They'll be spread out. So they'll start conflict internally within the country, civil war, whatever the case may be. Now you guys are fighting amongst yourselves. So instead of the active duty being able to do something, they have family members that might stand up and do something. They're busy and occupied somewhere else. You're left with the veterans that you treated like crap that might be able to help, but they choose probably not to now. And then, of course, you have other individuals that are left because, well, they took a certain oath within law enforcement, so they have to stand on a certain side. And now you have civilians and pedestrians getting into conflict with other people, law enforcement, whatever the case. Then you have reservists that step in. You guys already see what ICE is doing. You guys have an issue with that. You would protest ICE with police in the street with a police uniform on that says police and not pay attention to the last 3 letters that literally fucking spell ICE. Hold on, can you block this street off? I want to tell everybody about why you shouldn't be here. Does it make sense? Do you see what's right in front of you, or do you just pretend like you can't? Right? I hope this video reached some of you, but I'm glad it's in the public domain. Now I'm going to ask a question. Hopefully it triggers an emotion and you get to come out with a truthful answer that you can put in the comments. You don't believe what's written on paper, but you do a lot for paper. Is that you? Think about it. Because the same paper you're doing stuff for has similar words written on it, whether it's a $1 bill or a Cino or a $100 bill. Think about it. Till next time, my friends, I will see you in another video of Finding Freedom. Peace.